So, guys, we'll start soon. So, tie your seatbelts and be ready to take off with us.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We are about to start. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We are about to start.
Hey, guys, we hope that you all are having a great time this evening. And we are here to make it even better with a lot of positivity and hope. My name is Guru Saranya.
And my name is Raju Yadav. We are your host for today's event. On the behalf of entire E&I Cell NIT Andhra Pradesh, we welcome you all to this amazing platform where we are able to collaborate with people across the world present at different places.
Firstly, we would like to start by thanking Dr. Viresh Kumar Sir, Associate Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Soumya Jose Ma'am, HOD of School of Humanities and Management, and Dr. Premlata Ma'am for their guidance and also for giving us the opportunity to conduct this event.
I would request Dr. Premlata ma'am, the faculty advisor of E&I Cell, to address the gathering. Please, ma'am.
Raju. A warm, very good evening to one and all. I hope all our audience are curiously waiting for Sir's session. Sir, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And on behalf of NIT fraternity, I welcome you for this event. And please, the floor is open for you. Please go ahead with your session, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank-
Namaskaram to each one of you. I'm joining this live from Gurgaon. So very warm welcome to this evening session. And I was approached last week about this session by the student team of E&I Cell at NIT Andhra Pradesh. So we agreed that we should discuss perhaps few skills that are very, very important for young graduates, young students to imbibe. And they're not just functional skills one needs to have, but a lot of behavioral skills that one needs to build up. And that's what employers look for. So my intent in the next maybe 15 to 20 minutes is to share with you my experience, my expertise, being on the other side of the table as a recruiter from companies and as a person who's hired many fresh graduates from engineering colleges and also B schools. So that's my intent, to share with you a few ideas based on my experience, my research, and also my talking to various other industry counterparts. I'm open to your Q&A. Please keep on queuing up your questions. And I'll be speaking to you in English, but I'll be happy to follow up on any other question you may have. Also on LinkedIn, you can also see me on LinkedIn. And we'll continue the conversation beyond the session today. So what I thought today I'll do is I'll present to you what I find are few key skills. And I'll put them in a structured way so we can have a little bit more discussion around it. So I will now go ahead and share a few slides and take you through some level of detail in what are those core skills and why are they important. I hope you're able to see my screens now. And if you're not, just let me know. Are you able to see my screen now? Slides?
Yes, sir.
So this is what the poster said, paving your career path through gaining the right skills. And this is the topic of our discussion today. I'm no guru. I'm not any master of any subject in this area, but think of me as somebody who's senior to you in the class that you're going through. So I'm also a fellow learner. I would like to address to you today as a fellow learner, but maybe ahead on the curve from you. Love to do this in person, but we are going live and virtual. So I know the physical experience of being in a campus is very different, but also experiencing the talk will be very different in person. But that shall wait for another day. This is a little bit of a little bit of a profile about my journey so far. You'll see a funny picture of me. We are going into this month of Holi in the northern parts of India. So this is a Holi picture I took from 2 years back in a beautiful experience near Vrindavan. But if you see below the picture, you'll see some city names, and those are cities where I have lived and worked. So starting from my journey at Ranchi, where I went to school and high school and college. Yes, I went to the same school as Dhoni, or should I say Dhoni went to the same school as me. So that's my also claim to fame in a way. And that's where I grew up. And then I moved to Delhi to work and live in Delhi. My work also took me to Bengaluru for a few years. In between Delhi and Bengaluru, I spent 5 years in San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, working for companies like Oracle, Revel, and Siebel Systems. Then I moved back to India, worked in Bengaluru, and then I left for London, where I worked for 3 years, including doing my own startup. And post which
Sir,
I'm back
I'm
in
really
Delhi.
sorry to interrupt, but your screen is just stuck a bit. So can you please try it
Are you
again?
able to see the screen change now?
No, sir.
Okay, let me see if I can stop sharing and then I'll share again.
Sure.
Allow me a quick second. Thank you so much. You should help me with because when I'm presenting the slide, I can't see any one of you. It just gives me. Are you able to see this now?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So let me see if I go to screen show mode, if it stays there. Are you able to see the full screen now?
There is a bit delay, sir, not yet.
Okay, let's so just let me know when you have seen the screen.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe we'll not do the full screen mode. We'll just stay on the slide sorter mode.
Then it's visible clearly, sir.
Thank you so much for your feedback, and please continue to be live and keep me in check because I can't see the audience when I'm presenting the slide. So thank you so much. So that's the professional experience of working in companies. On the right-hand side, you'll see some of the brands where I have played a bit of a role. Interesting thing that I notice about my own career journey over last 30 years plus is that I have worked for very large companies in leadership roles also, starting from very frontline roles in sales and marketing and sales and product management. But also in between my large company experience, I've also been an entrepreneur a few times. So I have successfully delivered 2 startups, 1 failure. So 3 startups I've been through as an experience. And I'm happy to take your questions on what are the skills you need to build to be a successful entrepreneur. So those are my experiences on the right-hand side: Skype, Bing, MSN, Hotmail. These were my roles at Microsoft. I worked for product management teams at Oracle. I've been at NIT long way back. I was part of Talisma in Bengaluru. And Octane is the company, my last startup, which got acquired in 2017. And now I'm about to start my own journey starting last year, August, as an entrepreneur. So that's a little bit of a backgrounder from where I come from. And now I've gone to the next slide. I'll give it a couple of seconds for you to have a refresh of the slide. So this is the topic I want to discuss with you today, which is how do you pave your career path through gaining the right skills? Skills can be of many types: functional, behavioral. So what are those skills that employers are looking for, irrespective of if you're doing mechanical engineering, electronics, computer science, telecommunication? So which are those core skills? And I call them Success Essentials 4.0. This is a program, a module I have built for specifically for MBA students, but this is also relevant for students like you, and I'd like to take you through them in a little bit of detail. So are you able to see my slide now, which says Success Essentials 4.0?
No, sir. Actually, we are able to see the before slide in which all the company names are present.
All right. So I think we have some issue with the Google Meet. Not a problem. Let me again present the slide. And in this case, now I'll stay on the slide sorter view. Are you able to see this now?
Yes, sir.
Great. So yeah, the person with the beard is me last year. This is the Corona impact that happened on me. But now I'm back to my clean look, the way I have been in the natural state for so many years. So that's the part, Success Essentials 4.0. If you're a manufacturing student or mechanical engineer, you would be learning about Industry 4.0. So I have also called it 4.0. There's no other reason. There was never a 3.0 or a 2.0. I just said Industry 4.0 and it needs Success Essentials 4.0. So which are those core skills you need to build, irrespective of the functional domain you are studying? And I call them 6 skills that employers are looking for. So be it your internships, many of you are first year students, and you'll be going into second year later this year. You'll get 2 months of summer time for your internship. What are the skills we are looking for, even when we are hiring for interns? Over the last 7 years, in my various roles, I've had the pleasure of working with some 138 interns personally. So I've had some exposure on when we go and look for interns, what are the colleges we go to? What are the skills we're looking for beyond the functional skills? So which are those 6 skills employers are looking for, be it full-time employment or internships? And dare I say, these could be the skills you could also look at when you have to become an entrepreneur. How could these 6 skills help you? Because that's the focus of the Entrepreneurship Cell at NIT Andhra Pradesh. So before I take you through those 6 core skills, here are a few points I'd like to share with you. When we read management books, when we start practicing management skills, we are often told that don't get fixated on the results. And this is a bit of unlearning that each of us as a student has to go through, because so far in our education programs, we've always looked at passing the exam as the end goal, the GPA and percentage marks and percentile. But when you go into working in companies, you cannot be fixated on the end result. I'll give an example. Somebody who joined IIT maybe 4 years back, say 2016 to 2020 batch, last year they graduated, they wouldn't have anticipated Corona, right? So a lot of times your end results are dependent on many, many factors, and you have a contribution in that, but there are a lot of other factors which also define the result, end result. So in management terms, we call it fix the process, and if you have the process right, the end results are likely to follow. Whereas as young students, when we are still in college, we always get fixated by the end goal and try to work backwards. Most of the successful people in business, sports will look at fixing the process and getting better at the process, and this will give you the results. Results will always not be directly proportional to your efforts, but if you focus on the process and improve yourself in the process, you're more likely to meet the end goal and end result. The second is enjoy the journey. This is coming to me after so many years of experience. There'll be highs and lows in your professional journey and personal growth also. There'll be times when you will get what exactly you desired for, and there'll be times when you've done everything you wanted to do and still you'll not be successful. This could be your exams, this could be internships, this could be your jobs, this could be assignments. So enjoy the journey. As much as the goals are important, what you go through is equally important. I'll give an example. I'm sure when you did your 10th standard, everybody said 10th is very important for your career. Then you went into your PUC or 10 plus 2, and everybody said 10 plus 2 kar lo to life ban jayega. Then you did 10 plus 2. And now they're telling you, do your bachelor's in engineering, 4 years, and you'll be all set. It's a lie. The goalpost will keep on moving. So now you are all, right now, I believe, engineering students. Look back into your high school, look back into your school time. Don't you wish that you could have had more fun while you were going through the journey? So this is life for you as it unfolds. So I would recommend that, yes, goals are important, objectives are important, but please enjoy the journey, because the time gone will not come back. And when we look back, we always look back at the good experiences, bad experiences with a lot of warm memories. So enjoy the journey, because that's as important as reaching the goal. And this is the part where, if you've read the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjun, don't get fixated on the end result. Karmanne va adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So he says, don't get worried about the result. Don't worry about the result, focus on the karma. So this is the part which I would like to recommend to you as a starting point before we discuss the 6 core skills. Focus on the today, focus on here and now, and focus on how you can do a better thing today. What happens to you today is a reflection of many, many things. You can call it fate, you can call it circumstances around you, the result you get. But what you end up doing tomorrow is based on what you start today. So how you improve yourself day after day, week after week, like a sports person, is the only way you can start building and enjoying the journey. You know, sports people compete in stadiums, on racing tracks, on running tracks, but they always practice individually, and they have a timer in hand. They want to improve their timing. So before I get started on the larger 6 skills I'd like to talk to you about, I would say look at every day as an opportunity where each one of us are doing better than yesterday. If only you're improving yourself 1% week on week. If you were 100 last week, this week you're 101%. Next week you'll be 1% more on 101%. If you just add yourself, the law of compounding will help you grow to bigger heights. But enough of that backgrounder. Let's get started on the 6 core skills. So the first one is critical thinking. In Hindi, it's called Gahan Soch. I do not know how would you translate this into Telugu, but critical thinking is the ability to look at all possible situations all possible angles to a situation. You're about to make a decision, and usually a lot of our decisions are based on our gut, based on our biases, based on our experiences. A critical thinker will not let their own personal ideology not let their personal experience of a recent past or old past come into play. They will evaluate all possible scenarios for a given situation before they make a choice as an individual or as a leader leading a team. So all opinions are welcome, all experiences are welcome, all data points are welcome. And before you take a big decision or a small decision, you have had the opportunity to evaluate all possible options. So when we hire young graduates, we ask them to do a bit of critical analysis. We'll say, tell us about your failure, about your success. Those are things we'll ask, usually to ask how much of a deep thinker you are. But we'll give you situations on which we'll ask you to evaluate various options, various choices, and then decide. So person who's not a critical thinker is an impulsive decision maker who just goes by gut or past experience. And then you have blind spots, and then that may lead to failure. So we're looking for learners, student learners, who are open for feedback, who are open to explore all possible situations, all possible scenarios of a situation, and then decide the one going forward. I'm happy to take this in more detail during our Q&A, but critical thinking is one skill that we'll try to evaluate all new potential hires. In fact, dare I say, the 6 core skills I'm going to talk to you about are also something we evaluate everyone on during the course of their employment. Doesn't matter for a fresher graduate, doesn't matter middle management, or even for top leadership roles. So we are looking for critical thinkers who are able to keep their personal bias separately and go through evaluation of all possible scenarios before taking a decisive action. The second one is collaboration. So far, your education has taught you that you can actually learn in groups, but ultimately you are measured on your personal score, your percentile score, your achievement in the exam. So our education system gives us a healthy bias towards personal achievement. On the other side, in the corporate world, we are looking for people who are willing to collaborate, because individuals can only go so far. Teams which consist of these individuals will go longer, faster, and higher. So we are always looking for folks who are open to collaboration, who are willing to work with other team members, and are not afraid to sometimes give the credit to the other also for success. So collaboration is not just being open-minded, but being able to look at how others are contributing towards your success, but more importantly, how are you contributing towards success of others. So collaboration has, again, some sub-bullets, some sub-skills. But for example, this particular project where many of you are collaborating to come together and host me as a speaker is also a collaboration where you're learning new things, but you also have roles and responsibilities and accountability. So collaboration is one area where we find that students have not really gone through those live experiences of working in teams. And from day one, in any company you go, you'll be part of a team. So collaboration becomes a key skill that you need to build while you're in college. And internships and such live projects which you're currently conducting are a good way to get started. Now, my third core skills is creativity. We often confuse creativity with aesthetics and design and paintbrush and palette of colors. But creativity is everywhere. The piece of software we're currently using to collaborate online, all of this is part of creativity. Creativity essentially is doing something new for the first time or improving something which has been done before. We all are creative in our own way. There's somebody who's more creative in design and sketching. There's somebody who's more creative in writing piece of code. But anything which you create from scratch, or anything where you take one version and you build the next one, you're being creative. We find that a lot of our young students, which we are looking to hire as interns, do have ideas, but they are not committing to sharing those ideas, fearing a backlash. कि मैं अगर बोलूंगा मीटिंग में तो सब बोलेंगे कितना यंग बंदा है, इसको पता नहीं है. This guy does not know. So we are afraid to speak up and share ideas which may be relevant to a discussion that's being done. So creativity is one part we're looking for. So we may ask you, what is a piece of code you've written before? What have you created from scratch for yourself? So we are looking for the zeal and zest, the skill, which can evaluate Now, how can you build creativity? There are many, many techniques. Giving yourself 1 hour free time every day just to reflect. You need to have idle time to become creative. You need to also go through a grind in a certain area for some time before you can build new ideas. So creativity is the third core skill in no particular order. Let's go to the fourth one. Now, this is an important one because if you want to collaborate, if you want to share your creative ideas, if you want to be a critical thinker, so all six of these are interlinked, right? Communication is also one part. Now, communication, most of my young friends confuse with being articulate with the language. Oh, he speaks very good English, or he speaks or she speaks very fluent Telugu. That's part of communication, but the more important part, most important part of communication skill is being able to articulate yourself. You don't have to speak in very complex vocabulary to be able to communicate. You may have simple ideas, but you have to be able to communicate in and articulate your idea. So articulation more than language skills is very important. Similarly, in communication is also about listening effectively. So many of the young students haven't really learned that. So either they're extroverts or they're deeply introverts. Introverts can listen but not articulate well. Extroverts typically can articulate well, but they're not good listeners. So being able to listen very effectively, what other people are saying, what is being discussed, and then being able to articulate your point of view is part of what I call as communication. Communication is not really about just being 10 out of 10 on English. English does help, but I can tell you a lot of people in business whose English skills are very basic, but they're effective communicators. So this is the skill that I would say to you is important for you to start building while you're in campus. My fifth skill is a little bit controversial, and it's called selling skills. And selling skills is not just meant for people who will be in sales, but selling skills actually tells you how do you negotiate, how do you build a proposal, how do you build a pitch, how do you build your personal profile, how do you build your personal brand, how do you persuade others, how do you convince others. So those are skills also important to have in today's world, irrespective of whether you end up joining a finance department or technology department or architecture firm. You have to understand how you negotiate with folks, how you collaborate with folks. You may be joining a company and you have to talk to HR about your CTC. You've been offered a salary, and you know that you expect you should be getting a better offer. Now, unless you know how to negotiate and how to communicate and how to have the entire selling skills process going, you will not be able to make much headway. So a lot of our technical folks think that, oh, I'm not a salesperson. But guess what? Good technical folks who make great headway also know how to sell their ideas very effectively. You don't have to be good on PowerPoint. You can be very good in pure academic research. But unless you're able to articulate that, persuade others to join you, unless you're able to collaborate and negotiate with others, you will not be able to make headway. So selling skills is something I would really request you to also look at. The first four, you will know it intuitively. And the fifth one is somewhat outside the scope of your focus so far. And I would recommend that's also an area to invest your time and learn how do you negotiate, how do you build contracts, how do you build a pitch, how do you articulate your message in less than a minute, less than 10 minutes. And those are also important aspects. My last but not the least is the leadership. And leadership in the typical world we have thought of as leading teams, but it's also about personal leadership. It's about what you stand for. I have two photographs of two gentlemen who wear similar colors, who wear similar uniforms. But if I asked you, what do these two people stand for in their style of batting, playing sports, or leading, they're very, very diverse. Now, it's a personal choice whether you like Dhoni or if you like, in this case, Virat Kohli, but they are both effective in their own way. So this is the way you also will start building your leadership style. That's one aspect of building leadership style. But also today's leadership is not about being number one in business. It's also about being ethical. It's also about being accountable to the larger ecosystem. You cannot build a business today which is polluting everything everywhere around and not care about the planet. You cannot be building a team which is only people of a certain type. You have to be inclusive. So inclusion, sustainability, technology leadership, people leadership, of course, these are elements of leadership. So many of you are currently collaborating on this project to host this session today, and maybe a series like this. You're all learning different leadership style. I'm seeing, for example, Pasham, Yuvanit take leadership sometimes. I'm seeing other people step in. I saw Rathor Gagan Kumar, one of your fellow students, take the lead in getting hold of me on LinkedIn. So there are many, many types of leadership styles you'll see around you. Observe them, learn from them, and start building your own capability, right? So these are 6 core skills I would recommend each of our students to start building. And this will ensure that when it comes to employers looking for interns like you, you'll be better off than an average student. And secondly, when you're looking for placements in companies, then you're more aware about what are the core skills on which they would be looking to hire you. Now, not all skills you can be maximum 10 out of 10. There'll be areas where you'll be naturally very, very strong, and there'll be areas where you'll have to build. So these are areas on which you should try and see as much maximize your own potential score that you can. So this is the end of my formal sort of a presentation that I had planned for you. And now I'm open to Q&A. We have about 15 to 17 minutes for a deep dive, detailed discussion. Any question that you have pertaining to the slides I've presented to you, or even outside the slides that I've shared with you, the 6 core skills, if you have any specific question, I'm happy to take them and share my ideas. So now I'll stop sharing the brief slides I had presented to you. And now I'm open to your questions and answers. Thank you.
Sir, before we start the Q&A, we would like to give a formal intro to those who are unfamiliar with.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Punit Modhgil is deeply passionate about India, internet, and inclusion. He is currently the co-founder and chief research officer at Octane Research. Octane Research is the premier source of information and analysis on digital marketing in India. In his earlier avatars, Punit sir has been an entrepreneur, a marketer, and a product executive with some of the leading brands globally.
Mr. Raju, you're mute. Kindly unmute yourself.
Sorry. His last venture, Octane Marketing, was acquired in 2017 by Value First Digital. And after this, he served on the management board as CMO of Value First till February 2019.
He has led marketing and product management roles at Microsoft India, Oracle US, and NIT India, in addition to starting up his own venture 3 times with 2 successful exits.
Mr. Punit has global experience working in San Francisco Bay Area, London, Bengaluru, and now in Delhi.
He has served on the advisory board of the first parliamentary committee in India on National Information Infrastructure 1996, which led to the creation of Ministry of IT by former Honorable Prime Minister of India, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji.
He has been profiled in the Economic Times Global India and is often invited to industries conferences to share his expertise in the area of technology, marketing, and startups.
He is a fellow lifetime member of Institute of Directors. He has served as a trustee on the board of Setu Foundation, an NCR-based NGO focused on skill development and child education.
He has a graduate degree in science, majoring in physics from the Ranchi University in India, and has attended extensive management development program during his career. Now we request our participants to kindly type their queries in the chat box. We will address them at the end.
Thank you, sir, for your speech. That was really graceful and motivating. We learned a lot about some new career paths that can be gained through skill development. So with your permission, now we would like to start the Q&A session.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Mr. Yuvneet, sir. The question goes like this. You have mentioned creativity as a skill which can be acquired. Is creativity not intrinsic to one's intelligence?
That's a great question, Yuvaneet, and there's no one straight answer. Yes, there are areas in which we have, born creativity. Suppose you went to a good school where they encouraged you to take a paintbrush and paint around and give you a lot of time to yourself. You could probably be better in arts, what we call as applied arts. But creativity is also something you can build. There are techniques available through which you can start being more creative. Or if you have creativity and you're not using it very extensively, you're on a very routine job, you can build new ideas. And some of the techniques I have used is to, for example, read a book a week, a fresh new book, because each book is a new idea. So when you discover others' journeys on how people are doing different things, you also get inspiration to look at what you're doing in a different fashion. So there are many, many ways of learning how to be creative. And there are a lot of lectures available. For example, design thinking is a latest buzzword last maybe 10 to 15 years. And if you use design thinking techniques, which is about interviewing, which is about building a solution, you can be even more creative in currently what you do. So there are many, many such ways. If you look at traditional Indian wisdom from India, it has helped you look at, for example, meditation or focusing within reflection techniques. So there are many, many ways by which, but there are few core things on which creativity is built upon. One is innate curiosity. So unless you're curious, you'll not become creative in that area. And second is actually going through the motion of doing that part, where you get bored of doing the same thing again and again. You look for a shortcut, look for a new way of doing it, and also giving time to yourself. So if I ask this question to all of you students right now, and this has been an experiment which has been run for many, many years, which is the best time of the day you get some of your most brilliant ideas? So some of you will say during my morning walk, some of you will say before I go to sleep at night, some of you will say while I'm having my lunch, some of you will say while I'm having my shower in the morning. So what's interesting is most of the interesting ideas about work come to us not when we are trying to brainstorm in a closed room session in an office or in a campus. So when you give your brain some space, some idle time meaning no mobile phones, no internet, no music, just time to get bored. So sometimes you get ideas from there. So there are many, many techniques through which you can start building skill called creativity. We're all creative in ways more than one. And the idea is how do you bring to fruition for your professional success? I hope I've answered your question, Yuvaneet.
Thank you, sir. That was really interesting. We have another question from Mr. Mohan. He is willing to know some ways in which we can learn selling skills. Can you suggest any resource to learn selling skills?
That's a great question, Mohan. So I do not know which year of college you are in and what's your current profile. But whenever you get an opportunity to interact with others, and you have an idea that you want to sell to your volunteer group in campus, when somebody is proposing a new way of doing things, for example, this ENI cell at NIT Andhra Pradesh. So why not volunteer your time to see if you can collaborate with others? But when you're doing so in classroom projects, assignments, otherwise, are you able to get your ideas across? If you are, then you're already doing well in selling skills. But if you're not, there are techniques to learn to be able to get your point across. Many a times you'll feel that, sir, mere paas idea sab sahi hai. I have good ideas, but nobody listens to me. And that's because your selling skills are not mature. So selling skills have few things. So for example, listening what the other person is. And we are all selling skills, by the way. If I tell you how you sell to your parents, the idea of approving a vacation for you or a new laptop for you, we've all been selling ever since we were very young. We knew as a child, if you cry, your mom will give you milk. So we all have known. But idea is to get focused on this. So listening skills, communication skills, but also very importantly, negotiation skills. Somebody says to you, oh, this cannot be done, but you want it to be done. So you'll say, look, hold back. Let's step back. Is there a way we can come together you do this bit for me and we can do this bit together. So negotiation is also part of the thing. And negotiation, there are many courses on negotiation, formal courses you can take online. But selling skills is best learned selling. So if you are adventurous, I know this is a little bit what nobody will tell you, and you are learning how to code, for example, for 4 years, you're having a great code rank, why not take one winter break for 1 month or 2 months semester break, summer break, and join a sales role, telesales or actively selling in the field. And you may say, क्या बोल रहे हो सर, मैं तो यहाँ पे I've come here to learn engineering. But put your second year internship or first year internship in just learning, somewhere they ask you to go and take a target. So sales guys are very accountable. Selling skills also about targets. It's about accountability. It's about getting the process right. You may not know how selling works, but selling is very systemic. Selling is not just speaking on the phone. What you think of selling right now is maybe 20-30% of actual selling. So you have pipeline, you have to manage databases, you have to know who to follow up, when to follow up, what does the customer say in the meeting, how do you propose a new solution, so how do you create a new solution. All of these are part of selling. So I would strongly recommend actually, that you could do a summer internship for 2 months while you're finishing your degree. Maybe the best way to get started.
That was an insightful answer, sir. We have another question from Ms. Punyashri. What are the various ethical dilemmas encountered in sales?
Oh, that's a good question, Punishri. So when you are in sales, you have two personalities. One with which you're selling to the customer, and one when you come back to your office and you give the order saying, this is the order we have received from the customer. So when you're inside the company, most people will think that you're unreasonable. You're always siding with the customer. You're always fighting for the customer. Better pricing, better delivery. They're always right. Customer is always right. And when you go to the customer will not look at you just as an individual. Customer will look at you as a representative of a brand. So if you tell the customer, sir, I am not sure if I can help you do this, he'll say, no, you're not just one person to me. Why don't you talk to your team, your boss, your company, and come back to me? So there are dilemmas. For example, who are you representing? And are you representing the customer's interest inside the company? Tougher one. Are you representing the best interest of your company in front of the customer? So sometimes if you don't play it well, if you role reverse, if when you're meeting the customer, you're customer's man, and when you're meeting your team inside the company, your team company's man, then that's not a good ethical practice, because you'll be nice to everybody, but you won't have made progress. Also in selling, there is a lot of responsibility you have. Somebody who buys from you is buying from you on trust. They will give you their trust. They will give you money later, perhaps, right? So are you honoring that trust? They may have bought one particular specification of product, but when you're selling that product back to them, finished product, are you giving the same spec, or are you downgrading that without passing the value? You save some money, but without passing that value to the customer. So those are, a customer cannot test physically all products, specs. They cannot open up everything and see what's inside the box. So are you delivering what you said you will deliver? And that's a very big ethical question. You may not be caught at that point in time. You could be caught later. You've been paid money, you can move on. So in sales, ethics, dilemma, these are all a daily choice you have to make. The customer has agreed to a certain price, but now your company has revised the price. So do you go back and ask for a higher price, or do you? So there are things which are in the trust bracket, and very interesting to solve.
That was really absorbing response, sir. We have another question from Mr. Raveen. I am not a social person. Collaboration is difficult and not everyone's cup of tea. Can success be achieved alone?
Ravi, you're not alone actually. Even now, you're part of a family. You have friends around you. So when I say collaboration, currently you may think of people being very loud and extrovert and type A and chest thumping. That's not what I mean. Collaboration is understanding the other person's expectations from you, understanding your own expectations from the other person, and how do you work together. You already collaborate, by the way. If you've taken a flight to travel, if you've taken a train to come to a place, you've already collaborated. When you are going in the traffic, you've already collaborated. There are set rules of going on the traffic. So collaboration is also about setting up those expectations from each other. Sometimes we confuse our, being introvert versus being extrovert. I'm not saying you should switch your style from being introvert to completely being extrovert. No, don't need to do that. But you will have to collaborate with others to be successful, even if you are in a company individual contributor. If you're a coder and you're a great coder, but you can't work with others, that includes your boss, you will not go very far. So in addition to being very good technically where you are, if you want to grow, and I'm sure you want to grow, you're very young. So this is not the time to say, nahi ho sakta, hobe na, right? This is the time to learn and challenge yourself. And it is possible to break your shell and slowly have better awareness of people around you. And I would really recommend you should make that sincere effort.
That was really optimistic response, sir. So we'll take two more questions, sir.
Sure.
There is a question from Ms. Swami Priya. Is leadership not about critical thinking, and how do we improve it?
Yes, absolutely. If you are not a critical thinker, your leadership style will not be effective, because you'll go into situations where, based on your impulse, you've taken a decision. You've not taken inputs from others. You've not taken the best choice amongst many options. So then you'll not be effective as a leader. So the good leadership styles are which are very, very good on critical thinking, very, very good also on strategic thinking. Strategic thinking is at a larger level, macro level, how are things coming together? Critical thinking is for that piece of decision making, for that particular situation, which is the best option I have. And as we discussed, sometimes the best ideas, creative ideas, may not come from the leader, may come from others. So critical thinking is a very, very important aspect of being an effective leader, and being able to make success achievable for everybody in the team. In fact, if you look at all those 6 skills we have talked about, they're all intermeshed. They're like a bowl of Maggi, chow mein, spaghetti. They're all intermeshed. So if you're a good critical thinker, you can be very good effective leader. For being an effective leader, you have to be a good communicator. So leadership styles are also, built around, did you make the right decision? And this is a question a lot of you will have. How do I know I took the right decision? That's being critical thinker. Did you evaluate all the options and then took the decision? So yes, critical thinking is very, very critical, very, very important for being an effective leader.
Thank you, sir. That was really informative. We have one last question asked by Mr. Vivek Kumar. He is asking, how can we manage studies as well as the passion in a society which thinks memory as intelligence?
How much time do we have on this question? Because it's a longer question. I would recommend that many a times you will not know what you want to do. You will have a vague idea of your interest, passions, but they're not fully functional, fully developed. I would encourage you not to worry about your ultimate goal in life or ultimate interest that will keep you. People talk about ikigai, ye mera passion tha. Very few of us are lucky to figure it out. I would recommend to you that whatever is served to you, whatever is given to you, whatever comes your way, are you making the most of it? Instead of trying to broad brush and build a bigger picture, I would recommend, whichever situation you're in, whichever day or the hour you're in, are you giving it the best? At that point in time, are you giving it the best possible, even if you personally don't like that particular situation? But you are in a place, you have to deliver. Are you doing it just because, oh, I have to deliver? But are you delivering it with passion? So I would suggest passion can be in both ways. Passion can be interest and hobbies, but passion also can be, I'm given a task. It doesn't matter if I liked it or not, didn't like it, but I'll deliver to the best of my ability. That's the passion I would encourage each one of you to look at.
Thank you, sir. That was fantabulous answer. Now, we'll go for the Thank you for giving us your precious time, and we hope your association with the cell continues even in our future events, sir. It would be great if you can stay with us for the further event. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for your time, and please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to take your follow-up questions. It's been a pleasure being here today with NIT Andhra Pradesh. Thank you, Dr. Premlata, ma'am. Thank you, Rathor, Gagan. Thank you, Pasham, and bunch of you guys who have put together this fabulous event. Thank you so much, and I'll be signing off now. Good evening.
Very good.
So guys, now Mr. Taran Singh sir has joined us. Sir, we welcome you on the behalf of entire E&I Cell NIT Andhra Pradesh.
Mr. Taran Singh is the founder and CEO of Melvano, artificial intelligence-based blended learning platform for entrance exams.
He is a passionate entrepreneur who holds his integrated bachelor degree with masters from IIT Madras and is leading the impact in edtech sector through technology.
He is a recipient of prestigious Sri Chinmay Deodhar Award by IIT Madras for innovative project and holds winner's title for HeadNext Startup Competition 2018 at national level.
He has been featured in Z News, Yahoo, The New Indian Express, Dainik Jagran, and many others.
He was a keynote speaker at Think Edu Conclave 2019 by the New Indian Express and has been actively spreading seeds of entrepreneurship by being associated as a key speaker with Million Minds.
He actively consults on startups on go-to-market strategy, product management, and product growth. We now request our participants to kindly type their queries in the chat box. We will address them at the end. We are glad to have such an eminent speaker with us today.
Now, Mr. Taran Singh sir will address the gathering about raising funds while still in college. Sir, the platform is all yours.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Raju. Thank you, Saranya. And it's great to be here tonight. And I think goes without saying, all this startup and everything. I think it's a very team effort, I guess. And I would also want to thank my team members who have been actively working, and all the tutors who have been actively working on all the success journey of Melvano. So thank you guys for having me, and all the people who are watching us live. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope this session is fruitful for all of you. Yeah. So Sarana, I think you will have some questions, right? So let's start with the discussion.
Ms. Ramya, please go ahead with the questions.
Good evening, one and all. I'm Ramya, and I'm so excited and curious for this part of today's event. Now it's time for the rapid fire round. I will take over this rapid fire round with you now, sir. So I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of questions and let's get started. Sir, who is your favorite entrepreneur?
My favorite entrepreneur always has been Steve Jobs for his contribution to the startup industry, and the kind of wave he has led in the product management industry, to be very specific. So I would say that Steve Jobs is obviously uncompeted entrepreneur of all the times, and I obviously look to him. Yeah.
Okay. What is the one thing that you want every newcomer in the market to know, sir?
Every newcomer in the market, we are talking about entrepreneurs, right? So
Yes, sir.
I would say, yeah. So basically, I would say that you have to understand when starting off. You have to understand you're going to fail. So a lot of people think their idea is $1 billion idea, and they're just gonna make a product, and eventually everything will happen. Everything will fall into place. People will come. They'll get million downloads, and there will be investors. Running after them. Ad mein dikhate hai, right? Like you see this. There's a very popular ad by some edtech startup. I wouldn't take the name, but they have this kid builds an app. 16-year-old kid builds an app, and there are investors lined up. So that's not how it happens. Unfortunately, even if you build a great product, but you'll understand that sometimes it doesn't work. It needs too much efforts to bring something called what is called product market fit. So people are not just gonna come and just take away, buy out your app or your product. You have to sell it well. You have to make a great product. You have to continuously keep improving, and in all the due process, you will fail a lot of times, and failure is inevitable. So my message would be to don't think about failure as something failure and success binary. Failure is not opposite of success. Failure is part of being successful. You fail multiple times until you find out what works and you become successful. So I think that would be the message to all the newcomers.
Yes, sir. So, what are the challenges that one will come across in raising the funds as a student entrepreneur?
Okay, I think that's obviously not a rapid fire question, but yeah, I think that's a very descriptive question, I would say. I think there are multiple challenges that one faces while you start off your journey as a student entrepreneur, and I hope this answer would actually help a lot of people get clarity about how the life of a student entrepreneur is. And with my venture, my current venture, Melvano, I actually started this in my 4th year of my college. And hear me out. The story is quite interesting. So basically, I obviously had some idea about of a startup which I wanted to start. But that very moment, I was undergoing my internship. So I just wanted to get some experience in the edtech industry before I actually hop onto this idea and I actually start building this. And what happened was, in this internship, I just, was working on the product side, and I didn't really like the product because the startup then where I was interning, they were just continually adding features and features, and it was just hundreds of features and packed in just one app, and people didn't seem to like the product at all, and we were just talking about features rather than improvements. So I still remember that day when I walked up to my boss and I was like, I don't think what we are discussing in these meetings, that's actually being very productive, because we are just talking about making new and new features. We are not talking about how to improve the experience of the product, how to make customers love the product, and that's by focusing on the right things. So my boss happened to tell me, okay, fine, that's okay, but I don't think that's your job. Your job is already allocated. You just do the job. Don't put your brains into how we should design the product and all. So I was like, I think we are just getting this all wrong. With all due respect, I think we need to start working on the product. So my boss, obviously, like, you're so smart. Why don't you go and start up something of your own? And I was like, that doesn't seem to like a bad idea. And I just happened to leave that internship in there right itself. So after just 1 month itself, I just left that internship. I started up with my company, and in 2019 we launched the product. By 2020 we had close to 1 lakh users. So that has been the journey so far. So I think it's incredibly challenging as a student entrepreneur. Challenges you face. I think the first of all, you don't really have an experience of running a startup or even getting a team together. So I think that's the first challenge you will face while starting up. So you need to have a team to actually build product. You need to have a team to market the product. A lot of people get into this loop where they are the ones who are the sole, sole person who's running the company. They are the solo founders. So they are the ones who are doing the marketing. They are the ones who are making the product, and they are the ones who's doing each and every day-to-day activities of the startup. And for a couple of days, couple of months, that is okay. But if you understand, startups are incredibly hard because of that. You need to make sure the execution is on the point. You cannot just go out and give the subpar execution and subpar product, because that's a good part and the bad part of startup. Because once you are out in the market, no one cares. You are from IIT, you are from NIT, you are from KIT or XIIT or NIT. No one cares about that. Once your product, once your app is in the market, people will give you reviews. If the product sucks, it sucks. Doesn't matter you are from IIT or whoever you are, whoever is the founder. People don't care. Market doesn't. Market is actually very ruthless. So if you make a bad product, people will tell you that this product sucks. They'll give you a 1-star rating. That's gonna hurt you, and that's how it is. And even if you are not from a very tier 1 college like IIT, NIT, still if you make a great product, people will love the product. People will pay you for that, and they'll make sure that product remains in the market because you're solving the customer needs. So that's a plus, and obviously a downside of a startup, because people are gonna be neutral to your background. People are not gonna care about your background. They don't care you are a student entrepreneur or you are a 30-year-old entrepreneur or you are a like 50-year-old entrepreneur. Doesn't really make any difference. Your background won't make a difference. So I think that's the first part. Is as a student entrepreneur, your resources are limited, your knowledge is limited. So getting all these things together takes a lot of learning experience. It's a very sharp learning curve, which is obviously good. I would say, seeing hints, I would say that's actually a very good experience, because once you actually start a startup, you get to know people skills. You know how to convince people to join your team. You know management skills. You know how to make people work for you, how to communicate very clearly, what kind of product to make, communicate with your customers, communicate that value, what you're trying to build, trying to understand their problem, empathize with them. So you learn management skills, you learn people skills, you learn marketing skills, because initially you are the one who will be spreading the word about your startup. You will have to learn about each and everything, because you don't have much money about how to market the startup. So you will be the one who will be learning so many things initially, and that will actually be a very steep learning curve. So when I remember in 2018 when I started, from 2018 to 2019, I had learned so many things in product management, in marketing, in sales, which my peers obviously they were just doing something niche, where I was learning so many things at one time, and it was sort of an exploration journey. So I think that's a very plus point of starting up. I'm like slightly deviating from the original question, but I think these are the points which we definitely need to discuss as a part of the being a student entrepreneur. These are the positive sides, because I just don't want to highlight the challenges. I also want to tell what are the upsides of actually starting up. There are challenges, but there are obviously positive side of as a student entrepreneur. So the first challenge is convincing the people, getting the right experience. Since you start with zero knowledge, you will have to self-learn everything. So even if you are like just like 99% motivated, that's not gonna help. You always have to be 100% motivated when you're starting up. Because if you are motivated, your team members will never be. They'll be the first one to leave, right? So you have to always stay motivated in your journey, so that your team members, they are inspired by you, they actually work as hard as you. So they are the ones who will be looking up to you. So if you are not motivated about starting up, if you are not motivated about your idea, they'll be least bothered about it. So I think the first biggest challenge I would say in the journey would be getting the right members, convincing them to join the team, convincing them about your idea that it's gonna work, convincing yourself that this whole thing, the whole product you are working on, it's actually gonna work out. Because that was a major confusion for me when I started up. Because I knew I was building something, I knew people like this, but is it gonna be $1 million idea? Is it gonna be a big product later on which can actually sustain me in the longer term? Is it gonna be a profitable thing? I think that was the biggest question in my mind. I think that's gonna be something which you need to convince yourself, at least in the early stage. Because if you are not convinced yourself, that's gonna reflect when you talk to investors, when you talk to team members, co-founders, whoever it is. So I think that's the first challenge: convincing yourself, convincing your team members, finding the right team members, finding the team members with the right balance. Because you need people who have complementary skills. So if you're good at coding, if you are good at making apps, you need people who can market it well. You don't need 3 or 4 people who are all coders, because that's not gonna help you in your startup. You need people who have complementary skills. So one person, if the one person is on the tech side, the other person has to be on the marketing side. Someone has to be on the sales side. Someone has to be on the maybe like content writing side. Someone also has to write content, right? So I think all of these things have to find people with complementary skills, and getting all of them together, convince them about your mission, about your vision. I think that's gonna be a tough job. And a lot of startups at early stage, I would say around there has been a survey, around 47% startups fail because not having right team. They have a very poor team coordination. The execution lacks, and if execution is not there, I think your startup is very much destined to fail. Execution is what makes the difference. So I think these are a couple of challenges as starting a startup at an early stage. Apart from that, as a student entrepreneur, I think the major challenge which you will also face is something like juggling academics. So I would say IIT Madras has a very strict, attendance rules, like 85%, and I particularly know I like had to repeat 2 courses because my attendance just went to 80%. It's actually sad, but that's how it is. People are like, I think IITM is very ruthless when it comes to academics. So it's like you have to do anything, and I think you guys, people who are right now doing college, you guys have a added advantage, right? You guys are doing online learning, like learning from Zoom calls, where I'm seeing all those memes where you guys are some guys putting some random picture and things like that, where you can just put a proxy kind of a thing. But we didn't have proxy, and we were pretty much strict on the attendance rules. So we were not so fortunate to have this corona in our time. so we could actually manage to pass our courses. But I think juggling with academics is the most difficult thing, especially when your startup doesn't lies in your domain. So I come from an aerospace background. My courses were almost in aerospace or mechanical kind of thing. As I was building an edtech startup, which needs thorough knowledge of edtech sector, plus marketing, plus sales, and those things are not taught in college. They don't teach you about marketing. They don't teach you about sales. Thankfully, like IIT Madras does has some minors which you can take up. So I did take up some minors, but that was just maybe like 10% of my whole curriculum I learned over the 5 years. So I think juggling with academics is obviously one of the very difficult things which you have to encounter, and sometimes it just feels very useless. Why would you want to do courses where your passion doesn't lie, where you're building something totally different from what you're being taught? I think these are a couple of challenges what you face while starting up, in particular as a student entrepreneur.
Yes, sir. Sir, what is the one experience that brought epiphany in your life?
Okay, so I think the my relevation in life I actually come around something around, I think in my third year or fourth year, I think around when I was actually teaching students. So basically, I had this love for edtech sector, since very much childhood. I would say since I was in my 11th standard or 12th standard, I used to teach junior students. I was in my first year, second year of college. I actually took up time to tutor students for AEE maths. A lot of those people are right now in ITs and NITs, thankfully. So I think that was the time when I actually came across this idea that students need more than just courses. Students need more than just content to actually actually succeed in these entrance exams. I think that was the moment which hit me very hard, because what you see nowadays is they say you have great content and everyone will just jump on watch videos and all, and if you have very engaging animations and this kind of content, people jump on and they'll start studying. But that's not really the case, because Netflix is very different. So that's what I say. Nowadays you see a lot of startups which are calling themselves as Netflix of education, right? They expect people to binge watch videos because it has a lot of animation and they're very slick. But that's very far from the truth, because education is very different from entertainment. People go for entertainment. People like entertainment, no matter what forms it comes from. Okay? But education is very different. Education, when you watch some video which are educative, it requires your very active. It needs you to be very active. It's not something very passive where you see a storyline and it just goes on and on, like क्योंकि सास भी कभी बहू थी वाला serial. It's very difficult thing. It's very active thing. You have to apply your brain. You have to make notes. You have to solve questions in the end of the day to crack the exam. Just making it very and with just putting animations and making it very slick doesn't helps you. So a lot of startups who are working on those lines of Netflix of education doesn't work. And very soon you'll be seeing a lot of startups just being acquired or you're just going down the drain. They'll not be seen in the coming future, because education has been different from entertainment, and it cannot be mixed with the two. Even though you see a lot of platforms who are utilizing some form of engagement in terms of gamification. They give you points for watching video or solving questions and things like that. They have a leaderboard and things like that. But that honestly doesn't work, because socialization again is a form of kind of entertainment. Bringing socialization into education hasn't proven much results if you actually read research papers. So I think my revelation which came was in second and third year. Education needs to you need to have someone to help you with education part. You need to have someone along with the courses. No matter how great the interface is, you still need a personal touch. and that's what a teacher does. And that's the reason, even though there are so many online platforms, people still go for offline coaching centers, people still go for offline tuitions, and they still find matlab, offline tuition much better because they get a very personal touch, and they're still very very sticky about which teacher they should study from. So I think that time I actually found what I need to work on, and I think that's how we at Melvano started up.
Yes, sir. Sir, one startup which you wish you were the founder of.
Okay. So this is quite wishful. Okay, so I think if I were to say, I would actually say I would say probably like something like Amazon. I would say, because Amazon is one of the startups which have created a legacy specifically in terms of customer experience. If you talk about Amazon, the first thing people will say is amazing customer experience. It's super smooth to place an order. It's super smooth to get a refund or replacement. They're always on point with their execution, and I think Amazon in coming future will be one of the companies to look out for. They will be unbeatable. I think they're conquering whole of this thing. So they're not just in e-commerce, they're also in web services. If you know, Amazon also gives you something called Amazon Web Services, right? They're also now going into space tech. They're also venturing into AI and much more other sectors. So I think Amazon will be one of the companies which will be I would say 10x of what it is right now in the next 5 years. So I think Amazon would be certainly one of my bets. Apart from that, maybe I would say Tesla is another company which is innovating miles by miles, I would say. So they are very they are actually creating a legacy in terms of innovation. Specifically, I would say Elon Musk has been a great founder, and I think Tesla is one of the amazing companies I would want to be a co-founder, if not founder, but at least like work in them. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, if I ask to pick one over the other, like money or power, what would you pick,
Uh,
sir?
I would actually not take either of them. I would go with maybe like option C, something like empathy. I think that's more important. Money and power is something which is temporary, and I think it seems very lucrative right now. Having a lot of money, $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, and maybe like a lot of power, you can do a lot of things. But eventually, you have to understand, you know all these things are very temporary in your life, and what actually matters is the kind of wisdom you have, and wisdom comes from being very empathetic, I would say. So I have a very nice story about it. Again, not to roll this whole rapid fire, but it's a very small, very short story about empathy, I would say. So there was this very one person. He was very egoistic, I would say. So he just went to Buddha and he said, how do I feel, very big in my life? How do I feel tall in my life? And Buddha just didn't say him anything. He just bended over, and he just bended over to the guy to just make him feel tall. That's it. So the moral of the story is being empathetic is far more over having money or power. If you are empathetic, I think you can have money and power both. And I think you wouldn't even care about those things. I think materialistic.
Yes, sir. Sir, which sector do you think has a great future in this decade?
I think I would really want to place bets over space tech because I think there are a lot of advancements being going on in that sector. We are planning to set up an international space station. We can actually go and travel, and I think Elon Musk is trying something of a they have already created one. This what they call is reusable rockets. They are trying to make it even more cheaper, so people can actually travel to moon and back and forth at a one the price. So I think space tech is one of the sectors which I think would be taking a huge leap in the at least the coming 5 to 10 years. Apart from that, I think AI, deep tech, obviously seeing a lot of rush, and I think this trend will continue in next 5 years. So I think these will be the two sectors which will be seeing a tragic, a big change, I would say.
Yes, sir. So, what is the one thing that every online brand should do?
Every online, please pardon.
Brand should do, or yes, sir.
Every online brand should do. Okay. So nothing very specific, but I think you have to be very receptive. I think being very receptive actually lets you know what people want, how the marketplace is changing, how the demands of the customer is changing, how what people are talking about, and I think those places could be these are the places where you can be on the lookout for opportunities. So I think a lot of companies do that. They just listen to their customers. They see what people are talking about, and they actually make products according to that. And I think some of the companies which I will say is, one of them is, I think, Tesla. I think Tesla is doing that. They knew key people in future who want self-driving cars, and self-driving cars are now announced to Tesla. So I think being very receptive towards your customer, knowing what people are talking about. I think that's something of a very important trait which every online brand should follow.
Yes, sir. So, what do you think? Like, is it necessary that a startup should come with a problem first, but not with an idea?
I think yes, it's very important to have a very neutral opinion on the problem. So a lot of times when people start up, they already have a particular they're particularly biased. So they already have an idea in mind. Okay, I want to make this, but that idea might or might not work. That might not even have a market need. And we have actually seen there are like 60% startups that actually fail because of having no market need. Nobody just wants product. So you have to first figure out what people actually want and test it out very rigorously with the help of customer feedback, or it could be even like having one-on-one interview, or this is basically market research. So a lot of people start the idea, they don't really understand what is the market space all about. They don't really understand problem state. So I think the very clear idea, having a clarity on the problem statement before we can start building the product, even before having an idea. So I think first thing which you should focus on is go about, ask people what they want, what kind of problems are they facing. If they are facing a particular problem, have they done anything to it? And if they have, why are there any incumbents to the current problem? Like, are they having alternatives? Have they tried any alternatives? If not, what is the problem? By having a very detailed idea about what problem exists in the market is very important before even starting up. Once you know the problem with a lot of clarity, I think you will be in a better position to devise a solution. So idea always has come later. The first thing that you need to start is problem statement, a very solid problem statement. Yeah.
So, what is the best and worst advice you ever got in your entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, so I think I think there is a scarcity of good advices you get because a lot of people who claim to be mentors, they have iota of running a startup. A lot of just mentors come from an industry background, have not started up, they know about challenges of starting up, and give you some random advices. Like one of the advices, raise as money as much as possible and build a product, and something of those sort, or maybe spend money to just acquire as many customers as you want, something like that, or maybe on Google Ads or things like that. Nothing wrong with any of these advices, but a lot of times these are they don't have not very specific to any particular person. You need a very specific advice, right? I think these are the wrong advices which you get is, raising a lot of money, raising this, or, even I think one of the very bad advice which a lot of people get is you don't need to think about monetization, and always you can raise money and always you can monetize later. I think that's the worst advice you'll get, monetizing later. So I think from day one itself, or at least let's say you at least need to have a very clear idea when you start up. You need to have a very clear idea, when are you gonna monetize your customers, when are you gonna start charging, how will you be planning to make the money. Because a lot of times what happens is, and this is like around 80-90% of times this will happen, is you make a product, you put it out, you ask people, are they going to pay for it? Everyone will say, yes, I'm going to pay for it. When you make the product, you give it to them and you tell them, okay, this is the product, now pay for it. And you will find everyone just disappear. So no one is going to pay you for it. So this happens a lot of times. And people who have actually started, they will actually know this. This is actually a key. When you ask people, do they like this product? Everyone will say yes. You hardly find people who will say no. And when you actually go out there, build a product, and you tell them, okay, this is the product, please now use it, please now buy it, and everyone is gonna disappear. So the end goal is to sell the product. If your product is valuable to the customer, it means that they are gonna pay for it. Nobody pays any. I think there is disturbance, I guess. Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah. So I think you have to understand key, if people are paying for a product, it means that you are creating some value. Monetizing is just a way to capture value. So as good as creating value, capturing value is as important. I think so. From day one, or if not day one, at least you have to have some initial, initial tests done to actually figure out, people are paying for this product, people actually have this problem, and they're ready to shell out money for it. So if no one is paying from day one, I think that's a very negative, that's a very big red flag, I would say. So a lot of people say, I have validated this product because I've got so and so customers, like 1,000 customers or 5,000 customers. Validating an idea doesn't just needs customer, it actually needs a kind of a, at least like a people paying out for your product, or at least a repeated usage. At least people are sticking to your product, at least like on day 30 or day 60, people are you are able to retain those customers for at least like 30, 90 days. So you're at least seeing a positive D30, D60, D90 day. So at least you need to see those factors to validate. So I think these are the worst advices you get, is, you don't need to monetize, or don't need to have a monetization plan or raise as many funds as possible. I think these are the worst advices you will get. The good advices, I think, pretty much rare. I think the good advice I got was, before even you build an app, a product, do a prototyping. So there are a lot of prototype tools out there where you can actually with just couple of iterations, like just spend 2 hours, 3 hours, you can actually make a very lookalike of your product. So there is something called Prototype.io, which you can just make, and it just creates a lookalike of your app, and actually just feels and works like an app. But it's not an app; it's just like some hard coding done, and it just takes 2 hours, 3 hours, that kind of a thing. So basically, you can always have such kind of things to do the user testing, to see the kind of validation if people are actually using. I remember before we started Melvano, we're actually doing everything offline. We were actually just testing it out offline. We were just giving them some content. We were actually giving them some courses. We were actually giving them some mentors, and we were just testing it out online on 2019, I think, before even launching the product, before even making the product. So I think that's very important. You validate people like this. People are ready to pay for it before actually going on and building the product, because building a product is a very costly affair. You'll at least spend somewhere in north of 1 lakh to 2 lakh rupees to build a product, and then to market it another like 1 lakh to 2 lakh rupees. So it's a very costly affair. It's gonna at least 6 months of your time. So spend that wisely. If I was in the position to start up, I would actually spend 6 months dating my idea and then spending the rest 2 or 3 months to actually build the product, rather than spending 6 months directly building the product.
Yes, sir. So, what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote would be, fail fast, fail sooner, and fail better. So I think that's very important. The more times you fail, the better you fail. I think that actually gives you a lot of relevations. You will find what's the reason why you are failing, what works, what doesn't work, and with failing fast, I think you learn very quickly. I think that's very important when you are starting up, because you need to find out all the possibilities that don't work to actually hit that idea which is actually gonna work out. So I think failing fast, failing better, and failing soon, I think that's very important. And I think I would say actually feel even better in the turn. So I think fail. I think that would be my favorite quote, I would say.
Yes, sir. So, if you are stranded on a desert island, what book would you bring?
What book would I bring? I would actually bring Zero to One. I think that's one of my favorite books. It actually captures the whole essence of entrepreneurship, how to start with a product, what challenges do you face. I think that's one of the books which I would bring. Other books I would certainly bring along is something called Lean Startups. Again, I think it's a one of the Bible when it comes to startups. So I think these are the two books I would definitely want to just go about and read.
Yes, sir. So, within one word, can you describe the leadership, sir?
I think to me, leadership is all about empathy, understanding your customers, understanding your team members, understanding your investors. I think empathy is very important while when you run a startup or in any role, even if you're doing a job, it definitely matters because you have to understand people to work with them. And a lot of problems when you see people cribbing about their jobs is actually because they have people who are empathetic around them. They don't have people who really understand them, and they are loaded with their jobs, and they have so many problems happening in their life because probably their manager doesn't really understand them, and they're just loading them with work. They're not really able to help them understand them. So a good leader is someone who empathizes with their team members. They help them remove those obstacles, help them improve in their careers, and they actually pull their right. So I think that's very important. Being empathetic with your team members, customers, investors, everyone alike. I think that's very important trait of leadership.
Yes, sir. So, how has your relationship with yourself changed once your success was visible to others?
I think my relationship with myself, right? I think that's the question, right?
Yes, sir.
I think my relationship with myself hasn't changed much in terms of when my success was visible or not. Definitely, it feels good. It gives you a good push, but I think at the same time, I don't really care about you might see some lot of PR articles, Z News, this and that, and everything. All that it does feel good, but at the same time, you have to understand that all these are very materialistic things. What actually matters is, one is your work, what kind of work you are doing. Second is, what kind of legacy are you leaving behind, what kind of product are you working, what are you leaving for the others to get inspired. So I think this all articles, everything, all the success, everything is good, but I think my main focus has been is leaving a legacy behind, leaving something which people can get inspired from. So I think that's very important.
Yes, sir. So, what do you choose over Mac or PC?
I actually right now use a Windows PC, and probably I have an iPad, so I use that some of the times when I'm not using my PC. I actually try to avoid doing much work on my PC, but I don't have a Mac. I don't really like a Mac because it needs too many connections, too many different USB, everything, and you cannot collaborate if you don't have an iPhone. It's very difficult for you to get into that iPhone ka pura ecosystem. So I think if you have a Mac, then you need to have an iPhone and everything. So I think I haven't got into that iPhone ecosystem, Apple ecosystem yet. So I still have a good Windows PC, which is quite reliable. But I prefer work on my iPad most of the times for collaborating something. But I think at least as far as laptop is concerned, I use a Windows for now at least.
Yes, sir. So, what is the one habit of yours that has been very critical to your success?
I think the good habit which I try to at least incorporate and which has been pretty much very critical to in this whole journey of Melvano is be consistent and actually perseverance, right? So I think it's very important as a startup entrepreneur. You have to be very consistent. You have to constantly show up. You might have heard of this key. You get a lot of opportunities by just showing up. So the first, I would like to share the story. So the first funding round which we had in 2019 around, that was at the idea stage when Melvano was just an idea. We just went for a conference that was a conference on startup fundraising and things, and they were like we were just like college students, and we just went there just to get some knowledge on fundraising and things like that, like you guys are doing right now. I think that startup talk, there was some couple of investors were coming from Chennai Angel and so on and so forth, some seasoned angel investors and start entrepreneurs who were giving the talk, and we were just very curious to just listen to them, how their experience was, what they look into a startup. And honestly, matlab, it was very much unplanned. We didn't know, this startup talk was happening. We just got to know that just like that day itself. And we were like very curious. So we just went on and we just showed up, and we just, after the talk, we just met the couple of angel investors and we told them this is our idea. And what happened was, very next day, I got a call. I was riding my bike. I still remember outside my department, I was riding my bicycle. And I just happened to get a call from the organizers of that event, that one of the investors in that event, they wanted to talk to me, and I actually got very excited. So I gave my number, and I got a call from that investor, and he happened to call me in his office, and he wanted to discuss what we are trying to build. And at that time, it was just an idea. We didn't even start working on the product. It was just an idea. We did validate it though with some customers, but again, we never started building the app at that point. We went to their office and they liked the product, this and that. 6 months long discussion, and we ended up getting funded by those investors. And it was just at the idea stage, and it's incredibly hard to get funded at the idea stage. That too, when you are a college entrepreneur. So I think just showing up each and every time, that's very important. If you are just showing up each and every day, if you are just putting efforts, that 1% extra every day, that actually is gonna give you a lot of results, and that's gonna keep you ahead of the competition. So I think consistency is the most underrated skill. People actually think if you are successful because you're too intelligent, you are too smart, or things like that. No doubt, intelligence is important, but if you remember about the between the rabbit and the tortoise, so actually it's actually the tortoise who wins, because in the end he is consistent with his efforts. So consistency is the most underrated skills, I would say, in startup journey.
Yes, sir. And there we have come to an end of this rapid fire round. It was really insightful and enlightening hearing to you, sir. Thank you very much. And now from here and on, Ms. Sharanya and Mr. Raju will take over.
Thank you, Ramya, for those interesting questions. Sir, we would now request you to address the gathering about raising funds while still in college. Sir, the platform is all yours.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I think raising funds as a college entrepreneur, I think it's obviously a very challenging task, because you have to understand fundraising, how the process of this fundraising goes. There is something called investment thesis, which all investors have in particular in their mind. So all investors, they invest, according to their investment thesis. Investment thesis is basically guidelines or some specific notions which every investor comes along with. Particularly at a stage of pre-seed or angel investor, their investment thesis actually keeps on changing. But if you talk about institutional investors like VCs or PE funds, I think they have a very solid, they have very core, investment thesis, which they have very well documented. They are gonna invest in only these sectors, and they have to have this much traction and these many paying customers and this much to qualify even for meeting their LPs, with the limited partners, right, and their managing partners, right. So I think at an angel level, the investment thesis is still kind of for investors, it's not very hard at first. They keep on changing, but I think that's still there. And one of the very drawback of as a student entrepreneur is a lot of angel investors don't consider student entrepreneur as serious entrepreneurs. That's actually downside to student entrepreneurship, and actually very rightly so, because when you start up as a student, it's incredibly difficult for you to have industry knowledge. You have not worked in the industry. Your idea will be quite naive. You probably wouldn't have done the right market research. In most of the cases, you didn't have done all the steps necessary to get your idea validated. A lot of times when people start, they have zero knowledge, and that also includes me. When I started up in 2018, I didn't know about how to go validating the idea. I didn't know about how to go about building a product. I was not even from a coding background where I knew about how to make a product, but I had to learn everything the hard way. I think that's the most difficult part, because neither you have the money to just hire someone and build the product, neither you have the knowledge that you can just do it yourself, right? So it's a very long uphill journey that you have to learn everything from scratch by doing, and by scrolling through various articles on Google, Wikipedia and whatnot, do everything and anything, all the articles, every startup news, everything. You have to do all your good research on the topic and at least understand what is going on in the market, and you have to acquire those skills very fast, because the day you start up, you have to start showing something or the other results, even if not to others, but at least to yourself. You have to prove that there is some progress from what you have started off. Otherwise, it's just becomes very demotivating. You start off today, and in the next year you are at the same place. So you just get demotivated. Okay, it's not going somewhere. So you, at least for your own satisfaction, you have to still start working and start showing, document something. Okay, I'm doing this, I've learned this, my idea has at least improved in this, I've at least got some better insights. You have to continuously keep on improving and learning the skills. So that's one of the very difficulties of raising funds as a student entrepreneur, is people will not consider you as a very serious person to actually rely on funds. And I think even if you yourself consider the investor in yourself, in invest tools, you will also find key, why would you want to pay why do you want to give your money to someone like 10-20 lakhs to someone who's still in college, hasn't yet proven anything, right? So they are actually very right in their own notion, not trusting the student entrepreneurs. But honestly, I had been very much blessed with some good investors who did trust me at the early stage, who had that kind of conviction. But not to disregard, but that will always be a downside. People will not trust you with their money. They'll not consider you seriously. I had actually got comments something like from some investors, tell me when you're out of college, then we'll talk about fundraising part. Because we don't invest in student entrepreneurs. They were very blunt with that. They were like, tell me when you actually graduate, then we talk about funding wala part. So I think a lot of investors will actually not fund you, because even though if you build a product, even though if you have a good idea, even if you have people in place, traction in place, there will be investors who will not give you money because you are a student entrepreneur, nothing else. Because you're not working full time on this idea. And, actually, that's not very wrong of them. Actually, it has been a lot of investors who invested in student entrepreneurs. All the deal, whatever the money they invested, everything went south, because some of the student entrepreneurs ended up, shutting down the startup because they wanted to take more comfortable jobs. So they saw ki, they started up because of their hobby. Like they started up with some idea, they worked on this. They whatever money they got, 10, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, everything they paid themselves, and after that they settled up for comfortable jobs. They didn't work on the idea after the placement, and that actually also happens because of your parental pressure, societal pressure. Because when you start up in college in your second year or third year, you don't have that kind of pressure ki you have to start earning, right now. But once you are in fourth year, now your parents will actually put on a pressure on you ki you have to take up a job, because if your start is still in the ideation stage, your parents will be the one who will actually doubting you the most. In my case, my parents never wanted me to start up. So they were like, why are you even starting up? You are from IIT, take up a comfortable job. Your friends are taking a job of 50 lakh, 20 lakh per annum. You easily can get that kind of a job. And why are you not sitting for placements? So it was incredibly hard, convincing my parents about this whole job thing and whole startup thing. But I think they did get a conviction when we won the head startup competition. We got 3 lakh as a prize money, and my parents were pretty much happy. They were like, okay, fine, जो कर रहा है वो ठीक ही कर रहा होगा, हम ही लोग गलत है types. So I think they got that feeling then, and they were pretty much happy कि चलो at least prize मिला है, he is doing something of his own, so it's okay. And but it's just like almost like 2 years on the line, and I don't see that kind of downside when it comes to salary and all that, because I'm almost paid right now as much as my friends are getting paid in their luxurious jobs, and still working on what I love. So I think money is always what can follow, but I think your passion is the most important thing which you need to take care of, rather than working in dead end jobs. I think so. I think the first downside will be the parental pressure, societal pressure. Uh, so I have had this kind of a situation where after convincing my parents everything, startup is doing well. Melvano has started up. It had 20,000, 25,000 users initially, and I had this situation where some relative comes and they ask my parents, so what is your son doing? He has already graduated. What is he doing nowadays? And my parents tell he has started some business of his own. He started some startup, and the relative basically he taunts, why is he doing a business? Did he not get a job? So that's the kind of kind of comments which you get from a lot of society, and particularly that's not gonna hurt you, but probably it definitely hurts your parents, right? And they will be the ones who will be then even adding to the more pressure. I think I actually got this comment from one of my relatives, and my parents told me, today I had to hear this. Thanks to you. So I was like, okay, fine, not a problem, but okay, fine. So give me time till 1 year. Give me time till 1 year. This was in 2019. I told them, give time till 1 year. Let me prove myself. In 2020, we had 1 lakh users. We had like around 5 people who got into top 1 percentile in JEE Mains 2019. As of 2020, we are close to now 2 lakh users. We have this year JEE Mains, we have around 25 people who have qualified in top 1 percentile. So that's how we have grown, in just the last 2 years. And I think that's actually an outcome when you actually believe in yourself, and that's very important as an entrepreneur, because the people who are the closest to you, they will be the ones who will be doubtful about your journey. They will say that I am actually concerned about you. It's actually their very genuine concern, I would say, but they will be the ones who will be the most confused about, or doubtful about your whole startup, your whole idea, about your whole journey. And I think that actually is one of the things which hurt you most, because the people who are closest to you, if they are doubtful, it actually puts some of that doubt in your mind. You become like, okay, I'm even working on something very legitimate. Well, is it gonna even work? So I think that's again a very downside of raising funds as an entrepreneur, because you yourself will not be much convinced. Convincing investors is a very difficult thing, right? You have to be convinced yourself first before convincing your team members. So I think that's one of the parts. The second part I think I would focus on is definitely academics. While raising funds, academics was one of the very difficult part, because I remember when we had to do a follow-up round, like for Melvano. At the same time, I was in my fifth year, final year. We were having projects like an MTech project. So I was in something called an integrated master's course. It's a five-year course where we have your MTech project at the end of your fifth year. So basically, I had to do an MTech project. I had like a lot of courses which I had to finish because I was taking lesser courses in my first 4 years. Uh, I had a lot of courses to complete. I had an MTech project, and again, my startup was live at that moment. We had something like 10 to 15,000 users, and again, you cannot just leave your product. Like, you cannot tell customers, ki, okay, just wait on for 2-3 months. I'll just come back once my exams are over, right? You cannot do that as an entrepreneur. You have to keep the show alive. You have to keep the show running. So that's a very big problem. Manage your accounts with with your startup, I think. So I do remember the one funny scene which happened with me was actually my MTech project was slightly delayed because I was not able to give too much time to it. So I went up to my MTech guide, and it was a very nice and very nice lady actually. So she scolded me for like first 20 minutes. Why is your project not getting submitted? You will not able to pass this project coming and everything. And first she scolded for 20 minutes, and after that she was like, how is your startup going now? You tell me now, how is your startup going? And then she congratulated me for winning that headneck startup competition. So she was keeping a track of everything. She scolded me for the first 20 minutes, and then she was like, in the last 5 minutes, she was like, okay, so how's your startup going? And congratulations for that. And I did see that. So I think that's how difficult the journey is, and you obviously get support from unexpected places. So I think all in all, I think these are the downside of raising funds, the challenges of raising funds as a student entrepreneur. I think that would be most of it.
Thank you, sir. We all are delighted to hear you and got an idea not only about earning while still in college, but also about many other topics through the rapid fire. We are sure that each and everyone participating in this webinar were caught up in their entrepreneurial spirit. We felt like modern day pioneers braving the wild frontier of business.
We also thank you for spending your precious time with us. Sir, with your we hope your association with the cell continue in the future. Sir, we welcome you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Now for the vote of thanks. First and foremost, we would like to start by thanking our guest speakers, Mr. Taran Singh and Mr. Punit Modhgil, who despite their busy schedule have found time to meet us today and share with us their knowledge and experiences.
We also express our heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Director and iconic leader CSP Rao sir for his valuable contribution and constant encouragement.
We thank our Associate Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Viresh Kumar sir, for encouraging and giving us the opportunity to conduct this event.
We also thank our HOD of School of Humanities and Management, Dr. Soumya Jose ma'am, for guiding us throughout the journey.
We are extremely thankful to our faculty advisor and backbone of E&I Cell, Dr. Prem Lata ma'am, for guiding, inspiring, and acknowledging us.
We also owe our gratitude to this lovely audience who spent their precious time with us. We will be delighted if they continue with us even in the future for such a great successful events.
We request you all to stay tuned to our YouTube channel and do follow us on Instagram for latest updates.
At last but not the least, we thank all E&I Cell members who work really hard to make such a event great successful. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.